on Facebook for like half a second and found out that Gilbert Gottfried died, and I wanted to share my story, and I knew it was too long to do a TikTok about. I'm not even sure where to start. So many years ago, I somehow got invited to do like this celebrity golf classic at Nissaquag Golf Club on Long Island. Now, I'm actually from Long Island and I had never heard of Nissaquag Golf Club. That's how exclusive it was. Like this place was literally right behind my mall growing up. Never heard of the place. It's like this private tiny town. It's where the Baldwin brothers are from. And the fundraiser was actually for the Carol M. Baldwin Breast Cancer Research Foundation. So I'm trying to think. I think I got invited because I'd met Jackie the Joke Man Martling, hit it off, and his manager was also Billy Baldwin's manager and also was somehow involved with the foundation. He was actually my manager for a short time as well, but it didn't pan out. He cost me what should have been like $100,000 job being a body double for Adam Sandler on that weird twin movie that he did. I never saw it. But anyway, so I got invited to Nissaquag Golf Club. It was the first event like this I had ever been to. This was before I ever went out to LA or anything like that. I wore a completely inappropriate outfit. Everyone else was in like evening attire and everything else. It was my first time valet parking. And when I pulled up in my mom's like busted up minivan, I was like, hey, I don't really know how this works. Do I tip you? Where do I go? And the valet was like, oh, no, you don't tip us. And you can just go ahead and follow Mr. Baldwin. He'll show you the way. And I looked behind me and who had pulled up behind me but Billy Baldwin, who it turns out is like super sweet, by the way. And a really good husband, like was super loyal to his wife while she was going through all her healing stuff and whatnot. Any hoodle, I go in, I have a fabulous time. Everything's amazing. Celebrity event. I'm like the only celebrity that isn't actually famous and therefore one of the only celebrities that actually talks to the guests. And so I'm like the guest favorite, have a great time, spectacular, whatever. Get invited back the next year. Well, at this point, I've become pretty decent friends with Diane Neal of Law and Order because we met at like a PETA fundraiser and ended up doing karaoke together. And it was like kismet when we did Guns N' Roses. Anyway. So she comes with me and she's like tempted to be a comedian, but hasn't really started doing comedy yet. And then there's a bunch of other celebrities there. Les Claypool's there. Alec showed up for a while. Alec Baldwin showed up. He was kind of a douche. Anyway, and Gilbert Gottfried, who's a comedian. A ton of other people too. I don't remember who. And they were like, not just like comedy celebrities. They were like celebrities from stuff I wouldn't know about because I was a weird kid that didn't watch TV. So anyway, we do the golf thing. Everything's amazing. We're having a great time again. Super fancy cocktail party. This time I'm like dressed appropriately. And I think there's some pictures from that on one of my other TikToks, or this isn't a TikTok. This is YouTube. Holy shit, guys. I am very tired. Any hoodle. We get through the golf thing. We have our great time. They print out our pictures. We all get showered up and changed and everything. And we have the big dinner again. And keep in mind that this is so long ago and I was so like poor that I didn't know what surf and turf was. So when they gave us both a lobster and a steak, I was like, what kind of crazy shit is this? And everyone's like surf and turf. And I was like, okay, I've actually heard that in movies. That sounds perfectly reasonable. And we're all sitting and having the dinner. We're getting a little tanked. And John Starbuck, who I guess is, again, somehow instrumental in the event, is like, you guys should all go do some stand up. And Gilbert was like, no. Actually, he was more like, oh, no, no, I don't want to do that. Because he was super shy, it turns out. In fact, the way we met was like right before the dinner, I felt somebody like hovering at my arm. And when I looked, I didn't see anybody because he was super tiny. And then I still felt it. And I kind of like lifted my arm to like see. And there's Gilbert Gottfried like huddled in my arm because we had never met before, but he knew I was also a comedian. So he was like, shelter, sanctuary. And I was like, hey. And he was like, hi. And he doesn't sound like he did. Like he doesn't have that, well, maybe if I scrunch my shoulders up and talk like this, problem child voice. He doesn't, in real life, he sounded like the sweetest, nicest man. And he was like, where did you get your gift bag? Can you get me one? And I was like, yeah, totally. Because I was like super comfortable at this point. And I zoom off to get him a gift bag. I'm like, come sit with us. So when John approaches us and is like, you guys should do some stand-up. And mind you, this is not a stand-up comedy room. It's a huge banquet room at like a really fancy golf club. Like the kind of place that has nicer towels than I've ever seen at even like a nice hotel. I took a shower there and 2 women stood outside the shower waiting to hand me things. Luxury. So it wasn't set up for comedy. It was broad daylight. Like everyone's in evening attire. People are very spread out. And if you know anything about comedy, like one of the major things, if you want to have a good comedy room, is you want people packed together. You want people to be so close together that if something happens over here, the energy wave travels all the way through the room. The more spread out people are, the harder it is for a joke to land. It's just the fucking physics of comedy. So it's not a comedy room, but I'm drunk a little bit. I'm comfortable, and I'm like, I want to impress these people. I'm the only one that's not like an actual celebrity, so I'm like, I will do it. And Diane, being awesome, was like, I will be your sign language interpreter. Not real sign language. So I go up there behind a podium with like one of those little microphones you see the president talk on, where it's like a little thing with like just a tiny puff at the end. It's like I'm in a courtroom or something, like I'm going to testify. And I'm up there on my little podium, and Diane's next to me in freaking cocktail attire, doing hand motions for all my like big dick jokes and all this stuff. And it went over amazing. Everybody loved it. So it made Gilbert feel brave, and he was like, you know what? I think I'll go up after all. And so then Gilbert Gottfried went up, and he went and did his comedy, and it ended up being a freaking spectacular evening. Like, honestly, one of the best nights of my life. Perfectly drunk. I think we did something ridiculous, like went to Red Lobster afterwards, which was still the first and only time I've ever been to Red Lobster, was with Diane Neal of Law and Order. And I did enjoy the Cheddar Bay biscuits. But Gilbert was such a sweetheart, and I will never, ever forget how sweet and shy he was. And I mean, he was such a massive celebrity at that time that I was shocked and kind of humbled by how shy he was. Oh my God, I forgot to tell you guys. So I was so intimidated being in the room with all those celebrities that night that when it came time for like the auction where everybody was like donating things or whatever, I went ahead and pledged $200. It was all the money I had in the world. But like Les Claypool donated a motorcycle. Like I forget what Gilbert even donated, something from Aladdin, and here's me. And I was like, you know what? $200 to the breast cancer nonsense. Not that breast cancer is nonsense. I actually have several family members with breast cancer. However, I do believe the way we conduct cancer research in the US is ass backwards. But yeah, all the money I had in the world to not impress anybody. And if I didn't think it made me look worse, I should have done nothing. $200 in front of those people was pretty pathetic. But yeah, Gilbert Gottfried, you will be missed, man. I had my cry earlier, and I wanted to remember him with joy. So I did.